Okay, so for today's lesson, we are going to talk about expressions inside of After Effects, what expressions are, how they work, and what we do with them. We're going to make a composition. We'll make this HD 1080 by 24, maybe 20 seconds long. Cool. Excellent. And we're going to open this up and make a composition, and we're going to make some solids. So I'm going to do layer new solid or Command Y, and I'm going to make some solids. And I'm going to make let's say I'm going to make a purple solid, and I'll have a purple solid here. And I'm going to make this maybe 400 by 400. And we're going to call this solid Fiona. That's the name of my daughter, Fiona. And I'm going to make this solid here, simple solid there, like so. And I'm going to make another solid. Actually, I'll change the size of the solid. Let's make this a little bit smaller. Let's make this 300 by 300, a little smaller. There we go. Have this on screen, 300 by 300. And I'm going to make one here for me. We're going to make this red. And I'm going to call this red solid Chat Dad. So we're going to make this solid called Chat Dad. Again, we'll change this Command Shift Y. I'll make this one a little bit bigger just so we have some differentiation between these. And so this is Chat Dad. And so inside of here, we're going to make another solid Command Y. And I'll make one that's 300 by 300 as well. I have another daughter. Her favorite color is light blue. So we'll make this light blue. And her name is Sydney. And we'll make a solid for Sydney. We'll put Sydney here as well. She's her twin sister, Sydney. And I have a younger brother, or they have a younger brother. He likes green. I think he likes green right now. His name is Philo. We'll make him a little bit smaller. Philo. And he'll be maybe 200 by 200. A bit smaller. And so this is the little brother. He's much smaller, but he's a little brother. Now, we have this thing over here that says parenting relationships, and we have this basic parenting relationship. So we'll put Dad on top here, and we'll have Fiona, and then Sydney, and then Philo in order like there. And over in this corner right here, we have this thing called parent and link. And we can ascribe different parents to these layers. So we can say Fiona's parent is, let's pull down and choose from here, Dad. And then we have Sydney, and we can say Sydney's parent is, well, let's choose Dad. Cool. And then we have Philo, and Philo's parent is Dad. Now, over here, we also have, if we didn't do this, let's undo for a second. We also have this little icon, this little swirly icon right here. And this is called the parenting pick whip. And the parenting pick whip allows you to say, hey, rather than use a pull down menu, because let's be honest, pull down menus, what are you going to do? Pull down menus, they're not fun. They're not a good time. You know what is really fun? A whip. Yeah, a whip is really cool. So we're going to use a whip here. And we're going to say, yeah, let's just, instead of using a pull down menu, let's choose a whip and say, boom, Fiona, point to the dad and say, boom, there. Do you have to do this? No, you could just use a pull down menu. But, whips are a lot more fun. As a little kid, when I was growing up, I didn't want a pull down menu. I didn't really like, hey, I saw like Raiders of the Lost Ark. I didn't say, hey, Dad, can I have a pull down menu for my birthday? No, I said, hey, I want a whip. Boom. And we can point at Philo and say, who's your daddy? And then boom, right there. And then point that relationship like there. So you can use either one of those things. You can use the whip or you can use the pull down menu. Either one of them work. They're perfectly fine. But here's a problem. And so right now we have this. And so right now when Chat Dad moves, my kids move. So this is this parenting relationship. And when I move, you move, and they move along like so. And when I rotate, W key, rotate, they rotate around me there. And they move and they follow me along like so. And when I scale up, if I do scale up, they will scale up as well. And so as I move, they move. As I rotate, they rotate. As I move position, they move position. And they are noticing that they are following my anchor point. So when I rotate, they rotate around my anchor point. And this is important. They rotate around my anchor point. When they move position, they're actually following my anchor point here like so. And when they scale up, they will scale up kind of away from my anchor point. So they're pushing out away from my anchor point. And this is how this works. So anchor point, position, scale, and rotation all follow Chat Dad. So they are here following Chat Dad perfectly fine. The only one that doesn't is if I change my opacity, they don't get darker. Like they don't get more transparent. They don't, if I change my opacity here, they don't change that. And so that change does not happen. And that, I don't know why that is. That's because Adobe decided that's the way it should be. Do you want to know why that is? I'll tell you my dad joke. You want to hear my dad joke? Sure. My dad joke. Why isn't opacity affected by parent-child relationships? Why? Because it's transparent. Oh, I told you I was dad. right there. There's your dad joke for the day. Anyway, so we have these parenting relationships, but we talked about a problem, or I mentioned a problem before, but I'm going to stipulate that problem. My son Philo, let's be honest, he doesn't really listen to me. He tries to, but he doesn't really listen to me. What he does listen to is he does listen to his sister. So his parent is Sydney. So we're going to pick whip to Sydney and say, hey, Sydney is his parent, which means that ultimately, since Sydney is following me, when I move, he'll follow me. So when we walk through the mall, he'll follow along. Now, he may go and follow behind Sydney because he likes Sydney better than he likes me, and he'll follow Sydney. And Sydney rotates now, he'll rotate. And so they have their own, transform properties, but ultimately, at the end of the day, they'll follow me. And my daughter Fiona may go off on her own and get distracted and see something else, but she's still following me, but she's doing her own thing kind of there. But they are ultimately following along with me and following in me with this parenting relationship. And so they can move closer, they can move around, they can shift and move and stuff. And this is this basic, simple parenting relationship. So we're going to undo this here. We're going to just take all these points here, and we'll just take all these, and we'll just get rid of the parenting relationships. We'll just say none to the parenting relationships, and we'll go to each of these and just reset them. So Chad Dad's reset, Fiona's reset, Sydney's reset, and Philo's reset instead of there, which means they're all kind of behind me, which means I'm going to take me and move me up. I'll move Fiona back here. I'll move Sydney back there. And I'll move Philo there. And so we're back to normal here like so. So that was simple parenting, easy stuff. But now we want to get into something more complicated. Now, I like this idea that when I rotate, they rotate. But the problem here is that when they're parented to me and I rotate, they rotate around me. And they come around me. And I don't like that. I want them to rotate with me. See, we have this dream in my family I have this dream really, that myself and my children are going to form America's best family dance crew. And we're going to dance together in the living room. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we put on music and we dance in the living room, and we can shake back and forth and we can move up and down, and they can dance with me and they can follow me. But I want them that when I spin in the room, I want them to spin on their own. I want them to do their own spin at the same time. So I don't want them to necessarily follow me in this simple parenting relationship. I want a little bit more control, which gets us into programming inside of After Effects. Now, I will say this, by no means am I a programmer. I don't know anything about programming. I don't know C++. I don't know Java. I tried learning Python. I'm not really good at it, but I don't have this level of control inside of there. But we're going to go into some programming inside of After Effects. And I know a lot of people are scared of this, and they're like, man, I'm not a programmer. Here's the truth. I was scared of it too. We're going to try and make it really easy and make it really straightforward and simple. So here, instead of here, we have the stopwatches. And the stopwatches here, you'll ever notice the stopwatches. If you hover over the stopwatch, it says time vary stopwatch, toggle ability of property to change over time. That's what it says. And then it says something else after that. It says toggle the ability of the property to change over time. And then it says option click, or if you're on a PC, alt click to add or remove an expression. Now, what the heck is an expression? Well, expression is some programming inside of After Effects. And it's this little bit of programming inside of After Effects. So let's take a look at how this expression works. If we go to Fiona and we say Fiona's rotation, we are going to option click or alt click on Fiona's rotation. And we're going to go here and say option click Fiona's rotation. And it brings up this little dialog box that says transform dot rotation. I'll do that again. I'll option click again to close it. Then I'll option click to open it. Boom. And it opens up this little dialog box that's right here that says transform dot rotation. And this is this expression that we have here. We can see sort of this little piece of data that we see here that looks like this transform dot rotation. And we can click this and we can delete this. We can just grab this and delete this. And we can say alt equals 42 minus tilde together over slash exclamation point pound sign. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making this up. Don't ever do this. I don't know how to code. I just want to be cool and like one of those guys in the movies who do super hacker code. I don't do that. I don't know how to do that. I told you I don't know how to code. You're not going to be asked to do that. So we're going to start this again. We're going to go to transform.rotation here. And so transform.rotation. So this we're going to do. Imagine if you took After Effects and you kind of just ripped open After Effects. You kind of ripped inside of here and ripped inside this rotation property. We've seen this rotation property before. It rotates Fiona. But now we're going to alt click or option click, and we're going to go in here. And then we just opened up this thing. And somewhere in the programming, somewhere, there's a line item or something that says transform dot rotation. And this is the rotation within the transform properties of this. This is the value of this layer here. But what's fun is that under rotation, it says here transform dot rotation. So here it is, transform dot rotation. This is the value right there. Cool. But beneath this, you'll see when we open up an expression, when we get this expression property, it tells us what the name of the property is, the rotation property under the transform control of this local layer called Fiona. And then here it says expression rotation. And then here it gives some symbols. It gives an equal sign, it gives an expression graph sign, and it gives us a pick whip, another pick whip, just like the parenting pick whip. And then it gives us a little expression language menu. But we care about the pick whip. And now what I want to do, and this is really simple because I don't know how to write this code. I'll promise you. I'm going to grab this pick whip and drag it to the rotation of Chad Dad. And I'm going to point here at the Chad Dad rotation and say, hey, use this. And I let go and I go boom. And then it says, okay, it says this comp dot layer Chad Dad. So it's referring to within the comp. Which comp? This comp. Dot layer. So use the layer Chad Dad. Use that transform rotation. I'm going to click away or hit enter in the number pad, and then boom, and it puts in here this expression, this comp dot layer Chad Dad transform dot rotation. And you'll notice that the rotation now is red. Fiona's rotation is red, and I can click and drag in Fiona's rotation, and it doesn't do nothing for me. It doesn't give me anything. There's no control here because this is not being controlled by the transform dot rotation. This is being controlled by Chad Dad's rotation. So now when I spin, Fiona spins the same way. So when I'm at 101 degrees, this is at 101 degrees. So it just follows whatever I'm doing. I move, this moves. And so now, as we have me move and dance, Fiona moves and dance. And this is a simple expression. Again, if you paid me $1,000 to write this, I probably couldn't. I have never memorized this. I've just dragged the pick whip and said, hey, this right here, just drag to here and go rotation, and it puts in this expression. Enter in the number pad, and then boom, it does this. So now I have one control to control something else. I set this up for having one control to control something else. All right, so let's look at Sydney. And we'll say, we'll do this again. We'll go to option click, Sydney's rotation, and we'll say, let's let Sydney's rotation follow Chad Dad's rotation. And so now, boom, we hit enter that in. And then here, now both of them rotate like me. But let's say, for example, we have a circumstance. Let's say my daughter, Sydney, she's kind of crazy and kind of wild. And when I rotate and I start to rotate, she just goes crazy. She just, whatever I do, she rotates like 3 times as much as me. So I start to spin the living room and I do my little dance, my little pirouette here in the living room, and she does the dance. She goes like 3 times as much as me, and it's just wildness. And so I want to set this up so that Sydney does 3 times as much as me. Well, let's look at this expression. In this expression, this comp dot layer Chad Dad transform dot rotation. I don't know. Do you think that maybe if I went to the end of this and hit times 3 right there and hit enter, now when I rotate, she rotates 3 times as much as me. So when I'm at 84, she's at 200, or 83, she's at 249. You do the math, you figure that out. And now she's rotating 3 times as much as me. Now that was simple. I didn't really program anything. I didn't do anything complicated. I just put times 3. Amazing. We'll do the same thing with Philo. We'll go to Philo's rotation. And we'll go to Philo's rotation. We'll go to option click Philo's rotation. And we're going to go here to the pick whip and choose rotation Dad. But he doesn't follow me. He follows Sydney. So we're going to go to Sydney's rotation. He does what Sydney's doing, and he's going to do the same thing that Sydney's doing. So here, he's going to rotate with Sydney. But here's my problem. My son, he's a little bit younger, and he sometimes gets confused about his left from his right. So he doesn't understand clockwise versus counterclockwise. He's watching Sydney, and he's looking out of his left eye at Sydney, and he's saying, oh, Sydney's moving this way, and so he moves the opposite way. Oh, man, if only there was a way that I could program this so that he could follow Sydney but do the reverse, so that when I'm at, whatever, I'm at 52, Sydney's at 156, and then he's at negative 156. Wait, do you think that if I went here and typed in times -1, he would go the opposite direction? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look at that. He's going backwards. Cool. Now, here's the truth. Honestly, I figured this out much later. You don't have to do times -1. You just have to go to the beginning of this and type negative. And you can just go to the front of this here at the very beginning, type negative. Negative this confrontation does the same thing. Look at that. I was overthinking it. I was trying to type times -1. I didn't need to do that. Just make this a negative. Man, easy stuff. Simple. So that's some simple things we can do with expressions. That's some simple ideas we can do to explore some simple ideas of expressions. And you can start to say, hey, I can make my life easier. So now I can have one control to control other things. So if you want to make your family into a dance crew or something like that, you could do an expression like that. And you could do some simple, basic, again, nothing too complicated, nothing too crazy ideas of expressions. And there's more complicated expressions you can do. There's more programming you can do if you want to get into it, but that's a simple thing that you say, you know what, I want to make my life easier so that I don't have to rotate all of these. I can rotate one and it'll rotate the other. Say you were doing like a solar system and you wanted to have all the planets rotating around the sun. You could, parent them to the sun and then say all of them have their degree of revolutions or degree of rotation over the revolution. You could parent them to Chad Dad, and then they could rotate around there, and then each of them have their distance and have their elliptical orbit and all things from the. I mean, you could make a whole, solar system there. So ideas you can do. Let's do Command N here, and then say we'll make a new comp here, and we'll just have we're just gonna go here, and I'm gonna make a solid Command Y, and I'm gonna make a solid that is the comp size 1920 and half of the 1080. So we're gonna make it 540. And I like this green color. We'll make this green. And I'm gonna put this down here on the bottom, like so. I'm gonna hold down Shift and then Command and make sure it's on the bottom. We're gonna do another solid Command Y, except we'll make this one light blue. We're gonna make this one light blue, just as an idea. I'm gonna show you a trick. It makes one light blue, and we have this sky. So we're gonna have this sky and this ground. Like so, we're gonna put this right here. Cool. Just snap this in, hold down Command, and then we're gonna have it there. And I'm gonna make one more solid. We'll make a solid that's black. Cool. And we'll have this black solid here. We're gonna drag this up right to there and have this snap up there. And I'm gonna put an effect on here. I'm gonna go to my effects, let my effects open up, and I'm gonna use the fractal noise effect. So I'm gonna go here, let this open up. Come on. And we're going to do the fractal noise effect. Cool. Effects open up. And we're going to do fractal noise. There we go. And we're going to add the fractal noise effect. Here we go. And we're going to fractal noise effect. So now we have some noise going on here. Great. It looks like some noise. We're going to change the noise a little bit. We're going to say, let's contrast this up a little bit. Let's change to dynamic progressive. It looks more bubbly. We're going to change the scale of this. Going to transform scale. And we're going to make some clouds. We're going to make some clouds, maybe lower the brightness so there's less clouds there, but make them more bright so you can really see them. And then we're going to try to use a blending mode. We'll hit F4. We'll hit blending mode, switches and modes. And we'll go to a blending mode like maybe screen or add, maybe add. It's too bright. Maybe screen, a little softer. A little blending mode there. So we have some clouds there. We can maybe crank up the brightness a little bit. So we have a little more clouds, a little more contrasty. There we go. We'll just kind of play with the clouds. So we have some clouds floating there. And maybe I want to put, just to be fun, I want to go here and I want to put a mask over these clouds, just so there's a little bit of, so they're not so hard edged that we can do a little feathering to the clouds. A little feather to the clouds. That way we just have some clouds that are just kind of in there, like so. We're going to call this layer clouds. Congratulations, we made some clouds. This is an idea. Okay, so now I have this duck, and I have this image of this duck. He's here like so. This is this little duck. We'll scale him up a little bit just so you can see him in this duck. And so this duck flies back and forth. So this duck flies back and forth. And when the duck flies back and forth, I want the clouds to move past him. I want the clouds to go left and right. Every time the duck moves, whichever the direction the duck is going, the clouds are going to move past him, and the clouds are going to go past him, almost like the duck is flying and the clouds are going past. But I want this to be controlled by the duck. So the duck is going to be the control layer. So let's look at the clouds, and let's look at what makes the clouds go left and right. Now, I don't want to take the clouds position and have this move left and right, because this is going to move the clouds off screen, which is going to do that. That's not the control I want to do. So there's a control in the fractal noise called offset turbulence. A weird name for an effect, but we're going to go here, offset turbulence, and we're going to drag this left and right, and this is going to make the clouds, the particles that make up the noise particles, go left and right. So we want to control this to go left and right. Cool, excellent. So we're going to say under the clouds, we're going to go to the clouds, and I'm going to go here to the offset turbulence, and I'm going to say option click, And it's going to bring up the offset turbulence, and it's going to show the expression for the offset turbulence. And by default, the expression for the offset turbulence is effect fractal noise 13. I have no idea why. I couldn't begin to tell you why effect fractal noise 13. When you rip open the After Effects program, why it says effect fractal noise 13 is the default. Who knows? I mean, that's weird, right? That's a weird setting. Maybe it's because of the 13th thing down, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't know, some 12. It's maybe there. I don't know. Maybe that's how it's programmed. That's how it's written. I don't know. I didn't write Adobe After Effects, so I don't know. But that's fine. So we're going to say that the duck, the position of the duck, is going to control this value. But now we don't want to say here, we don't want to say the position of the duck controls the value. We want just the horizontal position of the duck. So the duck, we don't want the duck to move and change as it goes up and down. We just want it as the duck goes left and right. And so here, that value is my X position. So we're going to say that the offset turbulence is controlled not by the position of the duck, but only by the X position. If we hover there over at the X position, you'll see that it's pointing to the X position. And we'll say here, boom, click and drag, and it says, okay, so now we have this crazy expression that says temp equals this comp dot layer duck transform position 0. Okay, so it says this comp dot layer duck transform position 0. And I figured out, I just learned this by accident, that there are 3 positions. There are 3 position bracket 0, that's the X position. Position bracket 1, that's the Y position. And position bracket 2, that's the Z position. So in anything, you'll have a position 0. So you could just have this refer to position, which would refer to both, and it would refer to position 0. So this number, 648 right now, is controlling. This is what this is. Now, this is a variable here, and the variable is temp, the word temp. It puts in a word. It gives you a word. We can say any word we want to. So we can say, I don't know, we'll say salad. 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 The word salad. I don't know why the salad. I want a salad for lunch. The salad equals this comp.layer. So this equals this information. And now down here, we're going to say in the second line, so it puts a semicolon, and then it gives a second line, and it says salad, comma, salad. And we're going to change the temp to salad, comma, salad. Now, we could have left it salad temp by a temp, but, you know, that was the original. So we're going to go here and say salad, comma, salad. And here, we're going to put a bracket in the end, boom, and we're going to hit enter. And so now it says salad equals this comp layer. So this comp layer, the duck layers transform position 0. This is how it reads. The duck layers transform position 0, which is at 648, equals the 2 values, because there's 2 values for the offset turbulence. So it's 648 by 648. So now when I change this to 400, it moves the values of this to 400 by 400. When I change this to 800, it changes both these numbers to 800. Which means when I move the duck, it moves the clouds this way. So every time the duck moves horizontally. If the duck moves up and down, it doesn't really do anything. But if the duck moves horizontally, it changes these values. Up and down does nothing. I mean, if I keep it straight here, up and down, you know, it does nothing. But if I keep it, you know, here, move horizontally, it's going to move the duck. But that's not what I wanted to do, because I don't want it to move. I don't want the clouds to move down. I want the clouds to move one way. So salad, comma, salad isn't purposeful. It doesn't really help me. It doesn't really give me a good idea of what I want to do. I want the salad. So salad equals the duck's position. So every time the duck moves horizontally, it equals salad. So we want to say salad, comma, something else. We don't want the vertical to move. We don't want the vertical to be a thing that's controlled, because right now when this is at 600, both these numbers are at 600, and we don't want both of these numbers to be 600. We want one of these numbers to be 600. If I turn this off, you'll see it'll go back to the original values. There's a little on-off switch here, a little equal, doesn't equal sign, and that's an on-off switch. Okay, originally the clouds were at 270. They were at 901 by 270. Now, I don't care what this number is, but just for argument's sake, we're going to go here to this expression, and we're going to say salad by 270. There's a number there. Salad by 270. Now it's going to be, when I move horizontally, it's going to change the salad number, 800. and it's going to change that to 800, but this is going to stay at 270. This is always going to stay at 270. It's never going to move the vertical position. I don't have a control. I mean, I could change the number here, but I don't have a control there. So now when the duck moves, the clouds move with it. If I move up and down, it doesn't move up and down. It just moves horizontally. So now this is controlling this. And that's just an idea. One thing controls something else. And I have this level of relationship with expressions. Simple, easy stuff. Relatively straightforward. And I can change this to whatever I want to. But now it's still not doing what I want to do, because when the duck moves, I want the clouds to move past. Like the duck is moving really fast, so fast that when the duck flies, the clouds move the opposite direction. So now I have to go to salad and say salad equals, maybe we can do salad equals this comp.layer transform position 0, and then have this number be negative salad. Negative salad. Sounds like would that be made more calories or less calories if I had a negative salad? I don't know what a negative salad would be. But now when I move this, the duck moves by and the clouds go past. Awesome. Now, here's the truth. If I was a better programmer, and there are better programmers out there, I could come up with a way that when the duck leaves the screen, the clouds stop moving. And so there'd be like a range of where the duck enters the screen, the clouds start moving. There are better programmers than out there. But this is not something I do regularly, so I don't need to be a better programmer. I just want to have this duck move here like so, and have this inside of here moving back and forth. So when the duck moves, the duck flies by, the clouds move, and the duck moves with the clouds. And that's a simple programming. So you can sometimes make any kind of expression or any kind of thing you want to do just to make your life easier, just to say, hey, when this happens, I want this to happen. I want this control to control this thing. It's just an idea of expressions. And so awesome. I'm going to give you a couple different examples of some expressions that I like and some expressions you use. So if you don't get any of this, if the salad whole thing was confusing and this com.layer duck thing was confusing, we're going to give you some expressions that you probably are going to like, that you are going to use. We're going to make a new comp, Command-N, new comp. Again, we'll make this 20 seconds, and I'm going to say, okay. Okay, so I'm going to make some text, and I'm going to make some text on the screen. We'll use something like impact or something, and we'll say, let's make some text. And we'll click on the text, and we'll say insanity. Whoops. Insanity. And so we'll make some text. This insanity, we'll make this a little bit bigger. We'll put this here. We'll make this a little bit bigger. And the paragraph controls, we'll put this into the center. So we'll just have this centered here. Insanity here. And I'm actually going to take the Y key. I'm going to move the anchor point right to the center of this. I'm going to click and drag the anchor point here with the pan behind tool and go right to the center of this. So now it's right there in the center. Cool. So this is insanity here. Great. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to the position control. And for the position control, I'm going to add an expression. I'm going to give you 3 expressions that you might like, that you might think are great. And these are the expressions that you're probably going to want to use most often. We're going to go to the option click and option click this. And everyone knows this expression, or you will now, called wiggle. And you're going to type in the word wiggle. I know, it's such a weird word, wiggle. What does the wiggle expression do? Wiggle, and then we're going to put a parentheses, and we're going to type in 2 values. The first value is the number of times per second, so 3, and then we're going to put comma, and then you're going to put a range of wiggle, and we're going to say 400, and then we'll put another parentheses. There's the expression right there, wiggle 3 by 400, so 3 times a second. This will change the position up to 400 pixels away. Anywhere within a box. So figure this point here, pick a box that's like 400 pixels by 400 pixels away. It's going to pick another point in that place and decide to wiggle inside of there. And so there we have this expression. And now when we play this, it just moves. Look, I'm not touching anything. No keyframes, no hands, ma. It's just moving on its own, and it's just wiggling. I can do that with anything. I can do that with any control I want to. Have the control just wiggle variable. I want it to wiggle in a bigger area. I choose wiggle 3 by 800. I don't know, I change the numbers here. And now I have this being here to wiggle in a bigger zone. A bigger wiggle. Amazing. I want it to wiggle faster, but in a smaller range. I'll change it to 30 times a second by 80. Boom. Now it's going to wiggle a little bit, or a little range, a lot. Oh man, freaking out. It's insanity. Look, no keyframes. And I've done this before. I've had to do this with keyframes. It's a nightmare. you hit one frame, you go one frame forward, you move, you go one frame forward, you move, you go one frame forward, you move, and you're keyframing every single frame. No, this is just doing it. It's just an expression. So you can do this with anything. We could do this with the duck. We could go back here to the duck, take the duck's position, option click. It's a really easy expression to write. Wiggle, parentheses, 1 time a second up to 500 pixels. Cool. And now the duck is just moving. And the clouds will move with the duck. So now the duck is moving. Boom. Man, expression you can do. A simple wiggle expression that will do any kind of wiggling you want. Cool. Easy stuff. There you go. I'll use wiggle all the time just because I want something to do something randomly variable. I want something to move around. I want to move faster, slower. We'll use wiggle on a regular basis there. It's amazing. All kinds of things you can do. You can do this for anything. You say, for example, we go here and we'll bring in this clip here of New York City. We'll go here to workflow and we'll go to New York City. And this clip here, we'll just do this with a new comp, Command N. Maybe we'll just use this comp here. We'll go here, Command N, and we have this New York City. And then we're going to go to Effects and Presets, and we're going to look for, I don't know, lens flare. We have this little lens flare that's flaring around here. And we're going to take the position of the lens flare, the flare center. We're going to option click, type in wiggle. I don't know, like 1 by 800. So it's going to do 1 time a second. It's going to move around. And now it's just going to flicker around. Woo, flicker around over a big range here. There it goes. And then maybe we're going to make it flicker. So we're going to take the flare brightness, and then we'll do some option click, wiggle. Again, you get so used to typing wiggle. 4 times, well, it goes in this percentage of 0 to 100%. So let's do 4 times 80, yeah, 80%, parentheses, enter. If you forget something, if you make a mistake, if you don't type the other parentheses in there and you hit enter, it'll give you an error. It says, hey, this project contains an expression error. And if you look at the expression error, you can sometimes see error at flare brightness of layer 2, blah, blah, syntax error missing after argument list. And you're like, oh, I forgot the parentheses at the end. There it is. Please help me. Boom. So again, we can put the parentheses there. And so now it's going to flicker. This light is going to flicker and move around. So now it's flickering between this random scale of there. While it moves, it's doing the whole thing. Man, that's kind of cool. Really easy expression you're going to do on a regular basis. Great. So that's, again, one of the types of expressions that we can do, one of the cool things we can play with, etc. Let's go to Command N, and I'm going to show you another expression. New expression, and we're going to make a new sequence here. We're going to have a lot of sequences up today. I'm going to make, we'll take a solid here. Maybe we'll take Philo. We'll have some fun with Philo. So here, we're going to take Philo, and I'm going to say that I want Philo to rotate indefinitely. Now, this is the 20-second thing, and I want Philo to rotate indefinitely. So rotation, I'm going to go to option click rotation, again, alt click rotation, and I'm going to type time times 100. What that does is that right now, Philo's here at 0. When we get to 1 second, that's the time, Philo's going to rotate 100 degrees. When we get to 2 seconds, Philo's going to rotate 200 degrees. When we get to 3 seconds, Philo's going to rotate 300 degrees, which means Philo is just going to rotate indefinitely. So if you just want something to continue on, just keep increasing this number. This is great. There will be times where you just want something to continue doing what it's doing. Just keep increasing this number over time. I use this in a lot of places where I'm playing with different expressions. Like, for example, if I said, let's take this black solid, and this black solid here, we'll just stretch this out, and we'll put fractal noise in this. Fractal noise is a good place for this. Fractal noise, if you remember, has a control here called evolution. Make this a little bigger. Has a control here called evolution. And the evolution just changes these particles over time. So it just kind of changes and alters these particles over time. And I just want this to do this forever. I don't want to make a keyframe at the beginning and a keyframe at the end and have this change accordingly. I just want this to do this forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to option click and choose time times 200. And now this is just going to change these particles forever. I don't care what it's doing. And if it's going too slow, if I want it to go faster, I can change it to times 400 or times 500 or whatever, 2,500 times 2,500. Now it's going to go crazy. It's going to do this expression like, ooh, nutso. So I can just when it's at 4 seconds, it's changed to 27 by 280. It's just continuing this on. So that's a case of if I want to do something like that, I can do something like that in there. We can take this New York City aerial. We'll get rid of this lens flare. Sorry, goodbye lens flare. Cool. And now we're going to go here to something like lightning. We're going to go to lightning, advanced lightning. I know it's a silly effect, but it does lightning here. We're going to take this lightning, and the lightning we can composite on original. So when it's lightning on top of, New York City, we can have this lightning shooting out of the sky, maybe up here and shooting and hitting the tower, whatever it may be, hitting the Empire State Building there. And we can hit, or whatever building that is. I don't know my buildings. But we can go here and say lightning. And now the lightning, there's a control here called conductivity state, which, when you play the lightning, it doesn't do anything. It just sits still. We want the lightning to change conductivity state, to move around. I love doing option click conductivity state, time times 20, just even something. Now the lightning's going to go crazy and fire like lightning beams. I want that to be an expression I can control, to have that there. So I can control certain things with that times. You just want to keep something to keep going. You just want to crank this number up at a certain rate of speed based on the time. So whatever the seconds are, that time times whatever gives you those controls there. So this is different than wiggle. This is just continuing on raising that number based on the time. It's a really easy expression. Just write time times or time asterisk, and you give it a number. If that number's not right, you change the number. And so you never have to make keyframes again for that. You just do that as an expression. So those are two expressions. Again, two expressions I really like, I really think are useful, really think are helpful, really kind of cool, etc. Some cool, interesting things you can do with expressions, and some fun you can have with expressions. Some simple ideas. The last one we're going to talk about is, we'll go back to something else here. Let's go to Comp4 here. Let's get rid of this black solid and let's look at Philo again. Now we're going to go here and we're going to say, let's take Philo and we're going to go, Philo's here. We're going to put him at 300 by 500. Let's do an actual measurement here. And we're going to turn them in position, and we're going to say position. We're going to go to 1 second. He's doing something else here. Look. Oh, he's rotating over time. Well, that's fine. We'll leave him rotating over time. But for position, we're going to go here to 600 by 200. I'm going for exact numbers here, up to there. And then at 2 seconds, he's going to go here to 900 by 500. Cool, like there. And then here at 3 seconds, he's going to go to 600 by 800. So he's going to go to there. And then here at 4 seconds, we're going to actually grab this keyframe, hit Command C and copy and paste, and have this here. I don't like this this motion, so I'm going to hit Command Option click and change these to linear. I don't know why they're Bezier, but we're going to have this move in a straightforward motion, a diamond-like motion. So this is the motion path. Make this yellow so you can really see this. This is the motion path. We're going to move this up here. Bam, 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 bam. And then it stops. And then it stops. It goes from here to here, there to there, and then it just ends. And if you want to repeat this, if you wanted this animation to repeat, right? You wanted this whole animation, this 5 keyframe animation repeat. You might think to yourself, oh, let me just grab these keyframes. Sorry, let me grab these position keyframes. Let me copy them, Command C, and go here and paste them again. And now it'll go here and go boom. And at the end, it'll stop and then pick up again and do it again. And I can move these keyframes back so they're over top of these ones and then say, okay, let's have this go here and continue on, and they're like so. And then you could copy them again and then go to here and then paste them over. So you could go here and say, yeah, let me paste these over again, Command B and paste, and then go to this one and say here, paste, and then have them do the animation again and again and again. And so you could do this animation, and you could continue this animation on as many times as you wanted to, and have fun with that. And you could do that if you wanted to, but we don't have to because of this expression. So this other expression that we're going to do here is going to say in here in the expression menu, and this is, again, I am not a programmer. I don't know enough about programming. I don't understand it. I'm not smart enough to do programming. Please don't expect any programming from me. I'm going to go here and I'm going to say option click, and or not option click. I'm going to go to this little menu here, and you see this little menu here, and it says this is what's called the expression language menu. Now, if you are a programmer, this menu is great because it's going to give you a whole bunch of guidance about how to set something up. So here's all the vector math and how it does the language. This is like the dictionary for how it does the language here, how it incorporates linear motion and how it incorporates ease and color conversion, how to convert, what language you have to do this, and how to do JavaScript, which again, I don't understand, and all these different kind of ideas. But inside of here, one of the things I found was under property, under the category of property, there's a thing that says loop out type equals cycle, num keyframes equals 0. That's the one right there. And again, put a gun to my head, I wouldn't know how to write this out myself. I've never written this out myself. But here it says loop out type equals cycle, num keyframes equals 0. We're going to go here and add this expression into the position. Oops, sorry, that was a rotation. Was that a rotation? Yep. Let's go to position option, click the rotation, and we're going to go here and say property, loop out type equals cycle, num keyframes equals 0. We're going to go here and say great. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep that going. Now, I used to think because I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 keyframes, I had to go here and type 5 because that was the number of keyframes I had. I used to do that regularly. And so that'll do it. That'll do it. So it's going to go here and rotate and then continue on. Again, no more keyframes. I've done the first 5 keyframes, and now it's just looping those 5 keyframes in a cyclical fashion across there. And it will do this for however long the sequence is. So it's going to do this for 20 seconds, for whatever it needs to do. It's going to do this for hours and hours and hours if I want to. Now, I told you, I used to think I had to type in number of keyframes equals 5. I just have to type in 0, and actually it does it automatically. It does the 5. It does however many keyframes are there. And so it does that forever. Now, the trick is you can go here and you can actually type in num keyframes equals 3, and then it will do the last 3 keyframes. So you'll see it'll do the full loop once, it'll do the full loop, and then it does the last 3. 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, and it continues that. So if you want to do something like that, you can do something like that. But I've never had a need to do that. But just as an idea, we're going to go back to 0 and do there. And so now it's going to do the full range here. Now it says here, and this is interesting, it says here loop out type equals cycle. Well, the type, you mean there's more than one type? It took me forever to figure this out, but there's actually more than one type. You can type in a different type, like ping pong. Ping pong. There we go. And now watch what it's going to do. It's going to go here and go boom, and then go backwards. So it ping pongs. It doesn't cycle through, it ping pongs through. That's the word. The word is ping pong. I never knew that. And then I found out one day that ping pong was another option. I don't know. Maybe there's more options. Maybe you can type in pterodactyl and it will do a pterodactyl-like motion. Like there's cycle, ping pong, and there's pterodactyl. Who knows? We should type in pterodactyl. If one of us could spell pterodactyl. P-T, I don't know, something. No, let's go back to cycle. There's actually a third one. I'll show you a third one really quick. I did find a third one. Years later, actually like last year, I found a third one. I was like, I wonder if there's any more. Then I looked up and there's a third option that I know of. So if we do this, if we say, let's kill these 2 keyframes, or these, yeah, let's kill these 2 keyframes. And now it's just doing this. It's going from here to here. So now it's going to go here like this. And it's going to keep repeating this motion. So it's just going to keep doing this angle motion here. There's one here called offset. There's another type called offset. And what this does is in here, when you choose offset, it picks up where it left off and does the same relative motion at starting at the new point. So here it goes like this. Oh, and it will just do that off the screen forever. So you can just have that be, again, are there other types? I don't know. I haven't discovered them yet. But this is some of the fun. You can discover new animations that do all kinds of things, that do new controls and new things. We're going to do one more thing, and we're going to go here, and I'm going to import a composition. So we're going to import a composition, and I'm going to go here to back to my expressions, group here, and I'm going to bring in this butterfly. This butterfly is a PSD. It's a Photoshop document, and so it does consist of layers. So instead of bringing it in as footage, I'm going to bring it in as a comp. We'll bring in this comp, and we'll say retain layer sizes. And so import as composition, and we retain layer sizes because some of the layers are smaller than others, and I want to just keep that as there. And so now we're going to bring this here. We're just going to say, okay, and I'm going to bring in this butterfly. And so I have this butterfly here like so. And the butterfly consists of 3 parts. The butterfly body, which is a weird, butterflies always look weird with a weird semi-body there. We'll go to full quality here. Yeah, butterfly body. And then it has a right wing and a left wing, very political. And so we have these parts here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take the right wing, and I'm going to take the anchor point of the right wing. We're going to hit Y key and put the anchor point of the right wing right here. And I'm going to put the left wing, here's the left wing, and put the anchor point right here at the corner. And I'm going to have this like so. And now I'm going to take this and I'm going to make this, basically I'm going to make this, I'm going to put the wings attached to the body. So we're going to parent them to the body. Cool. And now I want to have the wings, we'll make them 3D. We'll make them 3D. So we have this here like so, and so here. Yeah, we can make it 3D. And we'll take the body and we'll just rotate the body on this axis here. We'll rotate the body like this so the butterfly is like this. So kind of like this. Actually, we'll leave that alone for just a second because we're going to do that later. And then we're going to take the right wing, and I want the right wing to move this way. I want the right wing to move up and down. And I want it to randomly wiggle. So we're going to go to right wing's rotation, and we want to look at the Y rotation of this wing. And we're going to have this wiggle randomly because, you know, butterflies, they wiggle randomly. So we're going to say wiggle maybe 0.5 times a second up to, I don't know, what do you think? 60 degrees rotation, parentheses there. So now it's just going to wiggle like this. 60 is a little bit much. I feel like a butterfly wouldn't do that much. We're going to go to 40. There we go. We're going to do 40 as a wiggle. Little wiggle back and forth. There we go. You're just going to randomly float. Now, I want the other wing to do the same thing. So I'm going to go to the left wing. And in the left wing, we're going to say rotation. And I want this to go here. We're going to option click the rotation. And I don't want to do another wiggle because the wiggle won't be the same. Because every time you make a new layer, the wiggle attributes are the difference, will be different because it follows some kind of a randomization control based on this number. So this is number 1, this is number 2. I'll show you this later. But I want this to be this rotation, except when I do that, the butterfly is going to go like this, which is really weird. I mean, I wouldn't want my butterfly to fly that way. So again, we're going to go to this comp layer rotation, and we're going to say negative, because this is going to float the opposite way. So now this butterfly is, you know, flapping his wings. Look at that. He's flapping his wings, doing his whole wing flap there like so. Great. We have this doing this wing flap inside of here. Cool idea. Simple idea to do a wing flap in there. Amazing. Okay. All right. Let's take a look. So we're going to take this butterfly and we'll go back to, we're going to go make a new comp. Command N. New comp, 20 seconds long. Cool. And in here, we're going to put this field of flowers in here. I'm going to have the scene of this field of flowers. There we go. Just this basic scene of flowers. I'm going to take this butterfly and I'm going to take this as a pre-comp inside of here. So now this butterfly is in here and he's flapping his wings. We can make the butterfly a little bit smaller because he's falling out of this, out of the range of there. So let's take the butterfly. Yeah, he's tripping out of there. We're going to go here to body and we'll scale this down. Make him a little bit smaller so he fits in there. So he's never outside of there. A little butterfly. We'll go back to comp 5, which is the field of flowers. And we're going to have him here. Now we're going to make this layer 3D. And we're going to take the butterfly and we're going to turn him kind of this way. So now he's flapping his wings there. We're going to turn on this collapse transformation so that he floats up and down like so. There he goes. There's my butterfly flapping. And we're going to go here, and now my butterfly is flapping his wings, doing his thing like so. He's flapping. Maybe we'll go a little bit faster. We'll go back to the butterfly. We'll change this to 1 time a second. So he's flapping a little bit faster. We get a little bit more action here. He's a very active butterfly. He's in a field of flowers. He's having a good time. And so now he's flapping his wings here. Now we're going to take the butterfly himself, and we're going to say position. We're going to say option click. And we're going to say wiggle. Maybe, again, 1 time a second up to 600 pixels away. We're going to have this butterfly, and now he's going to be moving around like so. So he's going to be flapping. Oh, that's really fast. Let's go a little bit slower. You know, he's a butterfly. He's very graceful. 0.5 times a second. He's going to be moving a range of 600 pixels away. That's even. It's still even fast. Let's even go slower. Let's go to 0.2. Very subtle flap. There he is, just flapping away like a butterfly there. And he's just doing its thing. No keyframes. Look at that. No keyframes. I programmed this in. This butterfly is just doing his thing, moving in, randomly butterflying. Amazing. Doing his thing. Now, the trick will be, here's the last trick. The trick will be that I want this butterfly to stop eventually. I want this butterfly to stop rotating. I want to end this animation. So I want to end this animation. I want him to fly around, and then eventually, when he's not flying around, he's going to land, I don't know, right here. He's going to land right over here. So we're going to have him, when this is on, have him flying around doing his thing, but then eventually he's going to land back to there. He's going to land back to his home base, back to there. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, in here, there's control under effects. Under effects, you'll see expression controls. There's a 3D point control, an angle control, a checkbox control, a color control, a drop menu control, a layer control, point control, and a slider control. In this case, I want to use the slider control. And what does a slider control can do? You might have seen these before when you're looking at effects. You might have been an expression effect. What does that do? Well, here's the truth. It does nothing. It has a slider. It has a slider that you can slide up and down, and it does nothing. It doesn't change this at all. It doesn't change the butterfly. It doesn't do anything to the butterfly. It doesn't control the expression. It's just there. It's there as a variable. So we're going to change this to number to 600. And now we're going to do something complicated. We're going to go here to expression controls, wiggle, 0.2 by 600. We want to change this number. So we're going to go here into the 600. We're going to delete 600. And we're going to grab the pick whip and drag it up to this slider right here. And that's going to say wiggle 2 times a second, or 0.2 times a second. So once every 5 seconds, change location up to within a range of whatever the slider says. Now, it has to need 2 parentheses. It's actually warning you right here. Put the other parentheses. If you hit enter, boom, it's going to get upset with you. It actually put the other parentheses for you. And so it took the liberty of doing that. And so now we have this expression and there. So now it's saying it's wiggling 2 times 600. Why 600? Because that's what the slider's saying. Effect, slider control, slider, that's the variable there. So it's 0.2 times a second, or once every 5 seconds, by effect slider. And now the slider controls how much is wiggle. So if we want to wiggle more, we'll even rename this. We'll take this one, hit return, and call this butter wiggle. Or just butt wiggle. No, we'll call it butter wiggle. Butter wiggle. And now this controls this, which means we can have this be, going variably over 600 pixels. So it's going in a range of 600 pixels. It's going there and going that range. But then eventually, at maybe 6 seconds, we're going to take this slider and we're going to have to slow down from 600 down to 0, because we can animate this slider. There's a stopwatch that says, hey, we can animate this slider. And so it's going to wiggle within a range of 600 pixels. And then at 6 seconds, it's just going to say, nope, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to slow down to nothing. And it goes back to where it belongs. Now it's still flapping its wings, which means we would need another expression to say control this wiggle. We could do that. We could go into here. We could say effect, slider control. We could name the slider control butterflap. Then we could say wiggle this 1 by this 1 by butterflap. Again, we'll add the other parentheses there, and boom. And so after 6 seconds, this needs to be at 40. There we go. At 40. This needs to be at 40. And so here, that's doing a random butterflap. But then at 6 seconds, we say, hey, stop doing your butterflap. 6 to 9. Here we say go from 40 to 0. And now we go back to this comp here and we say, okay, now this is going to wiggle a whole bunch. And then at the end, or at 6 seconds, it's going to slow down and it's going to stop the butterfly flapping its wings. And then it settles. Now the question is, do butterflies stop flapping their wings entirely when they land somewhere, or do they flap still even though they're not flying? Do they only flap when they're flying? Again, I'm not an entomologist and I'm not a butterflies, but we could do this. We could say, let's look at this expression and go here and say, instead of decreasing this to 40, let's decrease this to like 10. That way, as a 10 variable here, we can control this butterfly flapping, and then eventually he lands. And there, now he's just flapping a little bit, just a mild flappage. There are more expressions you can do. There are more complicated expressions you can do. You can go onto the interwebs and you can say, look up After Effects expressions, and you can find all kinds of expressions that do all kinds of crazy things. If you find yourself trying to do something crazy and you're like, man, I wish I knew some 6 essential expressions you can use from School of Motion, best 10 After Effects expressions from Motion Island, expressions cheat sheet from Good Boy Ninja, Gray Machine has top 5 After Effects expressions for Harry Frank, Inertia Bound, Snap in there, After Effects expressions. There's a whole collection of good expressions out there, and some are really complicated. Some are really, 30 lines of things, but you'll find some really cool expressions, and you can just, copy and paste them if you want to. There's all kinds of good expressions that people write out there that, like, if you're trying to do something, you're like, man, this could be easier. There could be an easier way to do this rather than have to keyframe everything and have all these things work together. There's probably somebody out there who wrote an expression for how to do this that makes your life easier. It's just a thing you can do. It's a trick you can try. And the idea of these expression controls, these are really nice. And I've seen people do things where they have one control to control everything else. So if you said, you had here, for example, really quick, we'll make a new comp. You had 4 lines of text, and you had all these 4 lines of text. You said player 1, and you had we'll make another line of text here, and you had, we'll just duplicate this, and we'll say this. We'll hit Command D and duplicate this. Obviously, this will be player 2. Duplicate this, and we'll have this as player 3, and we'll do Command D, and this is player 4. And you said with each of these, sorry, we'll rename these, and we'll call this, player 2 here. We'll call you player 2, and you will call player 3, and you will call player 4. And so this is player 1, 2, 3, and 4. And for each of these layers, we're going to go here, and we're going to go to Effect, and we're going to just put a layer style in each of these. We're going to do layer styles and do a, let's do a color overlay on each of these. So it changes the color of these to red. And then we're going to put a stroke on each of these. And we're going to go to layer styles. This is the last thing I'm going to do. We're going to put a stroke on each of these. It's going to put a stroke around each of these. And so now we want to have under the layer styles, we're going to open these each up. And we're going to look here under color overlay, and the color is red right now. So it's changed all these to color red. Now for each of these, we could change each of these to the color green and make them all green. And for the stroke, we could go to the stroke of each of these and say, make the stroke blue. And so great, they're all there. What we could also do is do this. We could go to layer, new, null object. Now what's a null object? Command Alt Shift Y. A null object is nothing. It's a blank piece of nothing. It's just there as a piece of nothing that doesn't exist. It doesn't show up when you play. It doesn't show up. It's just there as nothing. But what's cool about a null object is you can do a bunch of things with a null object. One of the cool things you can do is you can put effects in there, like a expression control, color control, and we'll call this face color. And then we'll take this color. We'll parent this to the face color. Let's go back to the null. Sorry, let's go back to the null object, and we're going to do the null object. And I'm going to just, for a second, we're just going to lock this window, and we're going to do this and go. This is the face color. Boom. And then for this one, color overlay, we're going to go to expression control. This is the face color. Boom. Enter. And for this one, it takes some time. It takes some time to set up. It does. It takes some time to set up. We're going to make this the face color. And boom. And you do this now. You do this now so that later on, option click face color, that when you want to have change the face color, you have one control that changes the face color of all of these, even though they're separate layers. they're there. And so you can change the face color for all these. And then you go to the stroke controls. Again, the stroke controls for each of these. Let's go back to the top here and say stroke control color, option click. We're going to make a layer, another effect here on the null. On the null, we're going to go here, layer, effect, color control, and we'll call this stroke color. And now here, we're going to go this expression, pick whip it to there. And so this will be the color for the player 4. We'll do player 3's stroke control. Option click, drag to the stroke color. And now it'll be there. And now we're going to go to expression 2's stroke color. And go to here and say, this is stroke color for that one. And now we can say on this one, we can go to stroke color and make it that. And so now this one control will be the color control for the layers. This one control will be the control for the color of the stroke. So you have different stroke colors. You can set up a whole bunch of variables. So if you have 30 things in the screen and you want to change them all to a different color shade because you're doing a Christmas special, you're doing a Halloween thing, you can set them all to a different thing. Or you're doing different teams and you want to change all the team colors, you can set it up like, oh, these are now there. And you can set this all control so that people don't have to dive into all this. And the trick will be is that you take these players and you say, hey, I have all these players set up like there. There's a button right here called shy. You can shy all these. Then when you hit the shy button up top, you can hide all the controls. And now this, you have a junior user or a secondary editor or secondary visual effects or motion graphics person, and they get to decide, what the color is, but they don't get to decide to change any of the players' names or whatever it may be. They have simple controls. You just shy them out, and they don't get to see everything that's under the hood. They just see this one control, and this is called, rather than called null, we'll call it control center. And maybe we'll do something else. Maybe we'll go here and we'll say effect, expression controls, slider control, and we'll call this stroke width. And now here we'll unshy this, and we'll go in here and say player 1's, player 4's. We'll go to the stroke. Now we got to find it. The stroke width. Whoops, sorry. Stroke width. Yeah. Stroke size. We'll make it this slider. Enter, which means there's no stroke. But then we'll change this to like 3 or 4. So that's there. And then we'll go to player number 3. Go to its stroke size. Add to this. And then this will determine the stroke size for each of these layers. So now here, player number 2. Again, stroke size, stroke width, there. And so now this control controls the width of the stroke. This controls the color of the stroke. And we can do this for everything. We can do this so they have one control center to control all the other animations that we're doing. And you can just kind of program this in. So, end users may have lesser control, or maybe just for yourself, you don't have to dive in so far to get to all the changes. You just put all the changes in one thing, one simple null, and that changes everything. And that changes all of the controls for all the layers, and you have one control to control the stroke width and the color. And these are pretty hideous colors. And you can control everything on a separate layer. And there, you can control the butterfly that way. You can control all those things inside of there. It's just some things you can do, some tricks you can try. Again, expressions, it's just, I was afraid of it at first. I really was. I was really afraid to do it because I was afraid it included the word programming, and programming was always really scary to me. I wasn't really good at programming. But this is easy stuff. This is relatively easy stuff, and you can get better at it. There's lots of resources online where you can learn about coding. If you are into coding, you can write amazing expressions that you can give to people or you can sell to people. I don't know. But you can write some really great stuff and do some really cool stuff. But in the meantime, just take advantage. At least take advantage of Wiggle. If you do nothing else, take advantage of Wiggle. Have some fun, and you can make this, you can make some simple things. Anyway, have a good day. We'll talk about some more cool things later on.